So welcome to this session on anal canal. Anal canal is 38 millimeter long or 3.8 centimeter. Okay. When we check about the extent of the anal canal starts 2 to 3 centimeter in front of it starts from 2 to 3 centimeter in front of and slightly below the coccyx, and it ends at the just it is 38 millimeters, means only this much long. Okay. So anorectal junction, which is 2 to 3 centimeter in front of and below the tip of the coccyx, that's where it starts. So normally we say that it is 4 centimeter below and in front of the tip of coccyx. 4 centimeter below and in front of tip of coccyx. Now these, let us check the interior of the anal canal, but before that we'll just talk about the relations of the anal canal. Okay. Anteriorly lies the perineal body, where many muscles they come together at the perineal body in both males and females. In case of males, anteriorly is membranous urethra and the bulb of penis. And in case of females, lower end of vagina. Okay. Now, because it is, as we said, 4 centimeter below and in front of the tip of the coccyx, so posteriorly we will not see any bone as such. We'll just see the anococcygeal ligament, the tip of coccyx. Okay. And most important, laterally, there will be the ischiorectal fossa. Ischiorectal. Nowadays, they are called as ischioanal fossa. So, in short, this will be rectum, then ending in anal canal. And this is the anal canal. And here on the sides, there are this ischioanal fossa. Ischioanal fossa. These ischioanal fossa are full of fat, and therefore they push the anal canal, and mostly therefore we see the anal canal as a collapsed part. So this fat in the ischioanal fossa pushes it. Okay, and so whenever the stool will pass, the stool will push this on the side. Okay, and after the stool is passed, again the fat in the ischioanal fossa forces, and that's what the function is. But again, the problem is that if there is any infection in this fossa, this infection will open here as a forming a sinus. It may open to the exterior, or it may be continuous like this, forming a fistula. So that is what a ischioanal fossa is. And then we spoke about the relations of the anal canal. Now after that, we talk about the interior of the anal canal. Interior of the anal canal. The interior of the anal canal is divided into 3 parts. The first part is the mucus part. So total anal canal length is 38 millimeters. So first part is mucus part, which is 15 millimeters. Okay. And in this mucus part, what we see, suppose this is the first mucus part, we see the mucus lining being thrown into vertically arranged anal folds. Anal folds. These anal folds are connected to each other by anal valves. Okay. Inside each anal valve is a anal sinus. So anal vertically arranged anal folds, anal folds joined by anal valves, and here is anal sinus. And inside each sinus, there is a anal gland. So mucus part first 15 centimeter has vertical anal folds joined by anal valves. Into opening into the anal valves is anal sinus, and inside that is anal gland. So now understand that the stool will be passing like this, and these valves are in a perpendicular direction of the stool. So in case a hard stool is formed, that hard stool, while it passes out of the body, may tear one of the anal walls, and that is what is called as fissure. That is what is called as fissure. Okay. So the first part is mucus part. The second part is called as the middle part, pecten part, and that is also 15 millimeters. 15 millimeters. Now here there is mucous membrane, but we do not see anal columns. Okay, but inside here we see venous plexuses. What we see in the pectinate part, we see venous plexuses. Okay, and that bluish appearance is seen. Now this line where the anal walls were, this line is called as pectinate line. While this line where the pectinate part ends is called as Hilton's line. Hilton's line. Okay. And now this lowermost part, the third part, which is the lower part or cutaneous part. This part is 8 millimeter in length. 8 millimeter in length. 8 millimeter. Cutaneous part. So this has actual skin. This has hair follicles. So these hair follicles can have sebaceous glands. There are sweat glands, and then one of these glands can get infected. Prolonged sitting and improper hygiene in this area can cause the swelling of inflammation of one of these glands, and this infection can further go into the ischioanal fossa, which is located in this area. Okay. So this is actually the cutaneous part. It is actually the skin. So that is all about the three parts of the anal canal. The first is 15 millimeters mucus part, which shows anal columns, it shows anal valves, it shows anal sinus, and it shows anal glands, and ends in pectinate line. This pectinate line is the watershed line of the anal canal, because above this the blood supplies by the superior rectal artery. Above this the venous drainage is into systematic vein. Below this portal veins, and below this is venous drainage is into the systemic veins. Okay. Now let us study the another important part of the anal canal, and that is the anal sphincters. Anal sphincters. Now what happens is, the suppose this is the mucous membrane, okay, and the circular muscle, the circular muscle of the gut, it forms the what is called as the internal sphincter. So above I'll write here as circular muscle of GIT. That becomes the internal anal sphincter. It forms the internal anal sphincter. Now what happens to the longitudinal muscle? The longitudinal muscle is here. I'll draw it with green. The longitudinal muscle is here. It fuses with puborectalis, and then it also comes here, okay, and then it gives shreds of muscles like this to the skin, okay. It gives shreds of muscle like this to the skin, and the another sphincter which is there, which is the external anal sphincter. Now external anal sphincter, in the previous textbooks it was shown in 3 parts. Nowadays it is shown as a single part, okay. In the previous textbooks there were 3 parts shown. This part was called as superficial, sorry, this part is called as the subcutaneous part. This part is called as the superficial part, and this part is called as the deep part. But nowadays the recent textbooks, if you see, they show a continuous external anal sphincter, okay. So these are the 3 parts of the external anal sphincter. The external anal sphincter has these 3 parts, and this is under voluntary control, while the internal anal sphincter is under involuntary control. Voluntary and involuntary control. And here is the venous plexus, okay. Here is the venous plexus, and this venous plexus, normally this venous plexus, you know, the veins are not dilated, but if a person strains while passing stool, these venous plexuses can get dilated at 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock position. 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock position. In a lithotomy position, if you see the anal canal, this is anterior, this is posterior, okay, and these are the lateral side. So 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock position, these veins can get dilated, and that is what is called as piles. Varicosity of the anal veins. We have studied the varicosity of the veins of the lower limb. Why? Again, there is strain on the veins that causes varicosity. Now we are talking about varicosity of the anal veins. Why? There is strain on the anal veins. Why? Because of constipation. Why there is constipation? Because of less fiber in the diet. We eat lot of refined wheat flour, which doesn't have any fiber. The maida, what we say, okay, the bread, the burgers, the pizza, the junk food, what we eat, vada pav, doesn't have any fiber. So therefore, having lot of fiber is necessary so that the stool can be, and fruits which have lot of fibers, and roughage which is provided by wheat and most of the millets. So that roughage then there is no strain on this while passing stool, and then the venous plexus does not dilate like this. Otherwise, a person who is constipated, the venous plexus eventually in the life dilates like this and leads to what is called as piles. Okay. Now, the Dr. Shamkishore sir must have talked to you about the puborectal sink. The rectum goes like this and then continues as anal canal. And here is the pubis anteriorly. And going from the pubis is the puborectal sling. Puborectal sling. This sling actually is pulled like this and prevents the stool from going into the anal canal. And whenever a person passes stool, the sling is relaxed, and this then becomes, the rectum almost becomes continuous with the anal canal because the sling is now relaxed. Doesn't become, the angle is not lost so much, but then the sling becomes relaxed and the stool is passed. After the stool is passed, again the sling contracts and maintains this puborectal angle. This sling relaxes only in only when a person sits in the squatting position, a regular Indian toilet. Okay, sitting on the commode, this doesn't happen. Therefore, the occurrence of piles, fissure, fistula, anal cancers. Of course, anal cancers are very common. These all are common in the Western world. One reason is they use the commode. Another reason is they eat lot and lot of meat and very less of vegetarian diet. Therefore, this you have seen this vegan diet and all are happening. Of course, not for health reasons, but of course for avoiding killing of animals. So our diet has to be rich in fibers to avoid these problems. You go to any surgical OPD and you see patients with piles, fissure, fistula. The first thing the doctor tells the patient is reduce your non-veg intake, shift to vegetarian diet, increase your fiber. Rather, I have, when I have attended OPDs, I have seen doctors telling the patient directly, no more non-veg food, and have shift to high fiber vegetarian diet. No, vegetarian diet doesn't mean vada pav. High fiber, fruits, vegetables, green leafy vegetables, this spinach, all these things have lot of fiber. Okay, so to avoid, as a doctor, you yourself should be knowing that fiber rich diet, all these problems can be avoided. Next year when you will be attending the surgical postings in second MBBS, there you will see, experience what I'm telling, the way the physicians will, surgeons will be advising the patients, and that time you will remember that what I had said, they literally make the patient shift to high fibrous vegetarian diet. Okay. Now the arterial supply of the anal canal. Arterial supply of the anal canal, as I told you, the pectinate line is the watershed line. So above the pectinate line, it is by superior rectal arch. Okay. And below the pectinate line, it is by the inferior rectal arch. Now venous drainage. Now there is an internal venous plexus which we saw on the previous page. It is on the submucosa. Internal venous plexus is in the submucosa. And then there is an external rectal plexus also. And this external rectus plexus is beyond the muscular port. Okay, it is outside the muscular port. And they both communicate with each other. The lymphatic drainage. I said pectinate line is, of course, venous drainage. It's not yet complete. Above the pectinate line, venous drainage above the pectinate line is, it goes to the superior rectal vein, which continues up as inferior mesenteric vein, which drains into splenic vein and goes to the portal circulation. So this is portal. Below the pectinate line, it is into middle and inferior rectal veins, and that goes into systematic veins, the inferior vena cava. So below the pectinate line, the drainage into IVC. Above the pectinate line, the drainage is in portal vein. Is in the portal vein. Lymphatic drainage below the below and above the pectinate line. Above the pectinate line, the lymphatic drainage goes to the internal iliac lymph nodes. And below the pectinate line, very important, it goes to the superficial inguinal lymph nodes. Superficial inguinal lymph nodes. So therefore, a patient may come to you with superficial inguinal lymph nodes and then enlarged and painful, and you may think that there is some infection in the penile region, but you may forget that below the pectinate line, the anal canal drains into superficial inguinal lymph node. So infection may be in the anal canal, and we may keep on checking anteriorly. Okay. Now coming to the applied anatomy. Applied anatomy, we start with congenital anomalies. Imperforate anus. Okay, very common. So very common in the sense amongst the congenital anomalies, this happens commonly, and it has, if treated in time, nothing, no threat to life. So therefore, a surgeon has to ensure, the gynecologist, that the newborn passes stool. The newborn passes stool, the gynecologist becomes very happy. So what happens is, there are many types. The rectum, anal canal, they don't fuse with each other. Sometimes there is rectum, and then there is this anal membrane fails to perforate and open up. So this is rectum, this is rectum, this is anal canal. Here there is no anal canal. The rectum anal canal is here, not able to open outside. Okay, so various types of imperforate anus are there. Investigations, per rectal examination. Okay, per rectal examination, that is one. And second is proctoscopy, where we see the rectum and anal canal. Okay. Third, medical problems. Inflammation of the rectum is called proctitis. Now we move on directly to the main thing, the surgical problems, and that is piles. So what is piles? These glands, there are external piles and internal piles, of course. Okay, external piles are below the pectinate line and they are very painful. Internal piles are above the pectinate line. One important thing which I forgot is the nerve supply. Above the line, above the pectinate line, it is by the autonomic nerves. Okay, so therefore any lesion above is painless. So when a patient comes to the OPD, we ask him, bleeding with pain, without pain. Painless bleeding means above pectinate line. Below, it is by the S2, S3, S4, and therefore it is painful. So bleeding with pain means below pectinate line lesion. Painless bleeding above pectinate line. So piles, we discussed about the submucous plexus getting enlarged at 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 11 o'clock position. So that is due to the straining while passing stool. Fissure also we discussed that in the first part there are this anal column joined by anal walls. So hard stool may, tear one of the walls and cause a tear in the epithelium. That is called as a fissure. Then there is spasm and lot of pain. So very easy to treat this. Give them high fibrous diet, give them stool softener, okay, give some antibiotic. Fissure normally heals without a operation. And fistula, okay, this also I have already explained. This is how the anal canal is, and then here are the ischio-anal fossae on the side. Inflammation in the ischio-anal fossae may open like this, either inside, either outside, or may become continuous outside. So then the stool may pass like this, and the stool may come out through this opening, and then this area becomes infected, and there a infected tract is formed. Okay, so and why this is infection is common? Because it is full of fat. Because it is full of fat, less blood vessels are there, less blood vessels are there, so less WBCs, and therefore chances of infection are more. So file, fissure, and fistula. Okay, now the last thing is anal cancer. This is very common, very common, who are, especially we hear of people who say that I am a strict non-vegetarian. So non-fibrous diet eventually can lead to anal cancer. Thank you so much.